before we get started, we need to have a few thank yous. I'm sure everybody here knows we have an amazing staff that put this together, especially Miss Tina Smith. If you could come up here for a second, Tina Smith. If you know Tina Smith, you know she's very passionate. She's very passionate about this school, these kids, and this community. And this program was no different. And we just want to say thank you, Tina, for everything that you do for our school. All right, welcome to today's ceremony, and thank you for attending. It's an honor to have everyone here on such an important occasion. We're here to honor our service members and their sacrifice. If there's anything that I've learned in the last few years about the sacrifice of a service member, it's that it's not just an individual sacrifice, but that it's a family sacrifice. The service members that we have here today and their families, they all came from different walks of life, but they all possess the same qualities. They possess courage, pride, determination, selflessness, dedication, and integrity. Make no mistake, we have heroes among us today. In a world divided like never before, maybe today we can come together as one United States of America. I want to now turn it over to Eric Wilganowski, the Bremond High School Student Council President.
On November 11, 1918, the United States and the Allied powers signed an armistice with Germany calling for a temporary cessation of hostilities between the conflicting nations of World War I. With this cessation, at the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month, the fighting of the Great War stopped, and this day became known nationally as Armistice Day. In 1919, President Woodrow Wilson deemed Armistice Day as a day filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service and with gratitude for the victory. For those years following, November 11th became a day of parades, suspensions of business, and other celebrations at 11 a.m. to honor those who served our great country in World War I. However, it wasn't until 1938 when Armistice Day was officially recognized as a national holiday. Armistice Day was primarily a day to honor the veterans of World War I, but following our nation's greatest mobilization of soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines in World War II, President Dwight D. Eisenhower changed Armistice Day to Veterans Day in 1954 in order to commemorate American veterans of all wars. Since then, it has become our civil duty to express our gratitude for all who served the United States and its flag on November 11th. It is this flag that represents the original 13 colonies we started from and the 50 states we have today. Red stands for courage, hardiness, and bloodshed to honor those who lost their lives for our freedom. White stands for purity and vigilance to signify our independence from other nations. Blue stands for justice and perseverance because of our willingness to outlast others for the sake of what is right. Even then, the flag represents much more than this. Patriotism, loyalty, and respect for our country can be seen when one watches the flag wave in the air. And when loved ones are handed the triangular folded flag at a funeral ceremony, the United States flag indicates the life of a true American hero. This is the ultimate representation of the flag. As we gather here today, I cannot begin to express the appreciation and respect I have for the patriots before me. So much is owed to these veterans who sacrificed their freedoms to defend and protect our great nation in order to provide people like myself with a great country to live in. We are so blessed to have heroes willing to volunteer their lives to make our lives safer and better. It is your leadership that inspires the minds of many to become leaders in our school, community, and our country. As you walk through the hallway in the school, the works of every grade are displayed on the walls to honor your sacrifices. I would like to thank Ms. Tina Smith for making this event possible, Tiger Band for their performances, and I would like to thank our veterans here in attendance, as well as our veterans for your remarkable acts of patriotism and heroism. They will never be forgotten. Our speaker was born in Hearn and raised in Bremond, graduating from VHS in 1970. That year, he entered the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, New York, where he graduated, becoming the first Robertson County native to do so. In 1974, he went to serve in the Army until he retired and moved back to Bremond in 2002. He served in the infantry his first 10 years, then as an aviation officer, attack helicopter pilot. He was stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia, Fort Hood, Texas, Fort Rucker, Alabama, Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, and Bismarck, North Dakota, and had several overseas assignments in Korea, Germany, Jordan, and West Sahara, Africa. His awards and decorations include the Legion of Merit, Defense Meritorious Service Medal, Meritorious Service Medal, 6th Award, Army Commendation Medal, Army Achievement Medal, Humanitarian Service Medal, United Nations Medal, Ranger Tab, Expert Infantry, Senior Aviator, Airborne, Air, Assault, and Pathfinder badges. Please welcome Lieutenant Colonel Retired Robert Jessup.
Distinguished veterans, administrators, teachers, students of Bremond Independent School District, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Eric, for the warm welcome and for the opportunity to say a few words today. It was 12 years ago tomorrow, November the 11th, Veterans Day 2005, that I gave a Veterans Day speech inside the gym to an assembly of the whole school. I suppose that there may be a few seniors and juniors who could have been there as kindergartners and pre-Kers. But for the most part, this is a completely different student body, almost 100% different student body than back in 2005. But it is good to get to come back again and make another speech. And some things don't change much. That day, I concluded the speech with Hardy beat Thorndale because we played them in a first round playoff game that night over in Caldwell. And that game turned out pretty good. Of course, today it's the last regular season game, but I do have to say, beat Dawson.
Woohoo! Go Big Red!
And every time I get to give a Veterans Day speech, I also have to tell people how November the 11th, Veterans Day, is a very special day in our household because our first son, Kai, who's a Bremond High School graduate of 2008, was born on Veterans Day in 1989. So it's pretty special in our house. And if you could just imagine, you school children here, that if it was your dad up here giving a speech and you turned 16 today, how embarrassed you would be to be called out by your dad. And that's what I did to him back then. Eric covered how Veterans Day got started. I had a few sentences here talking about that. It's worthwhile to point out that the reason that Armistice Day was recognized in the 20s and 30s and became a national holiday was because America erroneously believed in 1918 and in the years after World War I that war was a war to end all wars. After World War II, what Eric referred to as the greatest mobilization of soldiers, sailors, and Marines ever endeavored, Congress and President Eisenhower changed it to Veterans Day in the 50s. And Veterans Day is a day to recognize and express appreciation for the service of each individual who has served in the armed forces of the United States. And of course, those are people who served in the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, whose birthday is today, November 10th. And so happy birthday, Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, and the Air Force. And to include the National Guard members of the Army and the Air Force and the reserve components of all of the armed services. That is the literal definition of a veteran. But I would like to share one that I found last year preparing for a different speech. And it goes like this. A veteran is a person who at one time in their life wrote out a blank check payable to the order of the United States of America in an amount up to and including that person's life. Each of the veterans here today, seated here in front of you, actually did that. Veterans are everywhere amongst us and influence our lives in ways we often do not even know. They bring a broader worldview back to their communities because they not only serve with Americans from all 50 states and the 7 territories, they also serve in other regions of our country and in other countries all over the world and see other cultures, religions, customs, and standards of living. While in the service, they learn to be part of something much larger than themselves, to serve the greater good, count on others, to be counted on by others, to follow, to lead, to be responsible for their actions. And even though some serve for short periods of time and others for long careers, they all rejoin civilian society and contribute in unique ways because of experiences and the training they had in the service. 12 years ago, there were a large number of veterans on hand, just like there is today. And I recall suggesting to the student body that many in that student body had what it takes to serve and should consider military service. I like to think, and I do believe, the presence of the many veterans that day 12 years ago played a large part in there being at least one person from every class in attendance that day to serve in the military. Likewise today, I suggest all of you consider for at least a moment the possibility of serving in the military. Of course, I'm talking to the student body now. Although it is not for everyone, for some, it is the right thing to do. That is to serve the United States military. And in fact, I would like to actually suggest a community project, perhaps for Ms. Smith's class, but anyway, for one of the classes here, to identify a Bremond person veteran at every age, from 17 up into the 90s. And whichever teacher decides to have their class do that, I'll give you a start. And that's from the very bottom, age 17, Abby Carey, a former student for BISD. She's in the Army. She graduates from basic training next week in South Carolina. And at age 20, Hamilton Hull, he's a Marine. Age 21, Todd Gezi, he's in the Air Force. Age 22 next month, Jared Hoffmeyer, he's a Marine. Age 65, Frank Kozak, served in the Army. And he was the last person drafted from Robertson County back in 1972. And then at age 91, Doyle Oliver, Navy. He's my across-the-road neighbor, seated here in the front row. And then age 93, Fred Novak, who served in the Army. He's also here with us today. And then all those other ages, 18, 19, and 23, and so forth, you got to fill those in yourself. I only gave you 6 or 7. For the last several years, it has been common for people who learn that I have served in the military. I'm sure other veterans here today have experienced this. But when they find out that you serve, they can say, quote, "Thank you for your service." Not knowing how to respond to that, after a few months of hearing "thank you for your service," I finally decided to respond with, and I usually do, "It was my pleasure." Although it was not always pleasure being in the service, and I'm sure other veterans here can identify with that. But finally, I'd like to close by saying that I believe I can speak for all of the veterans here today, that we really appreciate the expression of gratitude for our service that the school community has shown to us today. And then we want to echo the thanks especially to teacher Ms. Tina Smith for putting this program together, just like Eric did earlier. And I also believe I can speak for the veterans here today that it was our pleasure to serve our nation. Thank you. I'll be followed by Amar Altal from the American Legion Post. I believe it's 266.
guys know me as David here in Bremond. Look at most of you friends smiling, look at me. Nobody knew that I served, so I'm proud to say I served. I served in the Army for 3 years. I came from a family, they served in the Army. Military service is a special breed of people. Veterans, I don't know why we call them veterans, or do they call us veterans? Because even when we finish, we serve, we still honor, and we always ready to answer the call. Most of veterans are a special breed of people. They're the one who put their life, and they said, yes, I could do it. Yes, I will do it. Yes, I will put my life for my country. So other people, other kids, young, old, can live and have their dream. I signed with the post 266 in Franklin. I'm honored. I'm honored among all of you veterans. To be a veteran, I can't describe it. I'm in my middle 50s. I'm happy. I'm happy to say I'm veteran. I'm happy to be among veterans, called friends. They're the one who put not just their life, but their kids, wives, dads. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to honor you guys, and I'm proud to be here among you. Thank you very much. And now, give us a minute. We're gonna raise the flag, and you're gonna help us, guys, please. Thank you.
All right, let's have one more big round of applause for these veterans. We will have one more song. The band will play one more song, and then all the veterans and their spouses are invited to come in and eat back in the cafeteria hall, and the Bremond Middle School Student Council will be happy to escort you that way if you need an escort.